Russia is warning Germany not to help Ukraine develop its own long-range missile systems, telling the United Nations Security Council that it is thwarting efforts to establish peace. On the whole, we cannot but note that Germany's actions are part of a campaign Europe has launched aimed at sabotaging the peace process, trying to provoke our country to respond, Russian Ambassador Vassily Nebenzia said. According to Associated Press, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz pledged Wednesday to help Ukraine develop missile systems that would be free of any Western-imposed limitations on their use and targets. Nebenzia sees the assistance as an obstacle to achieving a lasting ceasefire. In order to achieve this, we need to see the other party taking steps as well, he said. Some of the advanced weapon systems that allies have supplied to Ukraine during the 3-year war were subject to range and target restrictions, a fraught political issue stemming from fears that if the weapons struck deep inside Russia, the Kremlin might retaliate against the country that provided them and draw NATO into Europe's biggest conflict since World War II. The United States defended Ukraine's right to defend itself from aggression. Ukraine's fellow UN member states have a right to provide Ukraine with the means to do so, Ambassador Liu said. Liu also criticized China and North Korea for supplying troops and weapons to Russia.
С целью пустить под откос усилия по установлению мира, европейские страны предприняли за последнее время целый ряд шагов, направленных на раскручивание спирали эскалации. Так, новый канцлер Германии Фридрих Мерц на днях заявил о снятии ограничений на дальнобойность поставляемого Украине оружия со стороны Британии, Франции, Германии и Соединенных Штатов. В целом же приходится констатировать, что действия Германии являются частью развернутой Европой кампании по саботажу мирного процесса, попыткой спровоцировать нашу страну на какие-то ответные действия, которые они могли бы потом представить американской администрации как свидетельство неготовности Москвы к переговорам. Несмотря на очевидное истощение собственных ресурсов, государства Европейского Союза продолжают изыскивать способы для наращивания военной поддержки неонацистского киевского режима, что лишь способствует дальнейшему нагнетанию напряженности на европейском континенте. Готовы рассмотреть возможность установления режима прекращения огня, который в дальнейшем позволил бы выйти на устойчивое разрешение первопричин конфликта. Но для этого мы должны видеть встречные шаги с другой стороны. Чтобы прекратили поставки киевскому режиму вооружений и чтобы Украина остановила мобилизацию. Однако все ваши высказывания указывают на то, что подобный сценарий вас не устраивает.
The Russian Federation called today's meeting to advance the claim that European countries, by providing assistance to Ukraine, are undermining efforts to restore peace. That is not the case. Ukraine, as a sovereign country, has the right to defend itself from aggression. Ukraine's fellow UN member states have a right to provide Ukraine with the means to do so. We share the concern expressed by other members of this Council that Russia could be uninterested in peace and instead bent on achieving a military victory. So today, the United States calls on those countries supporting Russia's war industrial base to work towards peace instead of fueling war. We urge China to reconsider supplying dual-use goods to Russia's war industrial base. Drones made by Chinese companies using Chinese technology are destroying Ukraine's cities and Ukrainian families. China's policies are enabling the killing and prolonging the war. Russia's reliance on weapons and troops from the DPRK and its training of DPRK troops are particularly troubling, considering the many UN Security Council resolutions they violate. And the risk Pyongyang could use whatever rewards it receives from Russia to further threaten peace and security in its own region.
Former Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu has big problems. Dictator Vladimir Putin has given the go-ahead to the security forces for a criminal case against his entourage. This was reported by the influential Russian Telegram channel VCHK OGPU, which is associated with Russian special services. The resource confirmed rumors that Shoigu was interrogated in early May on corruption in the Russian Defense Ministry. The key figures in this case are 2 deputies and close associates of Shoigu, Timur Ivanov and Pavel Popov, However, clouds are gathering over the ex-minister himself. Interrogation of Shoigu became possible after Putin gave the go-ahead for investigative actions with approximately the following wording: "If there is something really serious, then work on it," the channel said. He claims that Shoigu's fate has not yet been decided, but his arrested comrade, Salikov, will go to prison with a 90% probability. It should be noted that before the full-scale war of the Russian Federation against Ukraine, Shoigu was quite close to the Russian dictator. They even regularly went to the countryside together. However, the failure of the Kiev in 3 days operation caused a rift in this tandem. In May 2024, Shoigu was dismissed from the post of Minister of Defense, which he had held since 2012. Moreover, he was not present at the military parade in Moscow on May the 9th, which experts considered a black mark for the former head of the Ministry of Defense. Media wrote that Shoigu has serious problems in the Russian Federation. The ex-minister is urgently transferring money to China. According to Russian news sources, Shoigu and his cronies are getting rid of assets in Russia and moving capital abroad, which may indicate growing concerns among the Russian elite. Shoigu's departure from the Kremlin's trusted circle is accompanied by the arrests of his closest allies, which is the first sign of a growing rift among the Russian government. Among the most notable changes is the suspension of construction by the large construction company Samolet, controlled by the Shoigu family and his close associate Ruslan Salikov. Salikov's appointment as a senator from Tuva was blocked, which, according to Russian telegram channels, became an alarm bell for Shoigu. Companies associated with the Shoigu clan are starting to sell off square meters and shares, and are also freezing new construction projects, citing a lack of working capital. According to the telegram channel Nezigar, significant amounts are being transferred to Tajikistan and China through the recently acquired bank under the pretext of purchasing construction equipment and advance payments. At the same time, the Federal Tax Service has stepped up inspections, blocking payments from a number of companies associated with Samolet. Mounting debts to contractors and subcontractors are exacerbating the crisis, also affecting ethnic criminal groups involved in the construction, including conflicts over unpaid debts arising from the Samolet projects. Salikov's sons, who hold Cypriot passports, are allegedly preparing to sell off their business assets in 2025. Salikov himself, according to unofficial information, is temporarily restricted from leaving Moscow. The escalation of conflict within the Russian elite, accompanied by the withdrawal of capital abroad, signals the growing uncertainty of the elites in the political and economic stability of the country.